You're watching 12 WKRC TV, a new generation of news. This is 12 Newsmakers.
Good morning and welcome to Newsmakers. In the last 18 months, we have been flooded with stories about crime in the city of Cincinnati. The impression is created that first, crime is spiraling out of control at an unprecedented rate, and second, that the police are not agile or flexible enough to respond to changing conditions. Several stories this week by 12 News reporters frame these questions in my mind. We begin with a portion of a report by Terry Barr about one man's struggle in Kennedy Heights.
It's what he does every night.
I do all I can to make my place, to make the home beautiful for the neighborhood and for my family.
But as Monsanta Martin works in his yard, he's watching for what else might be going on in his Kennedy Heights neighborhood.
So it's very frustrating. This is an ongoing problem and it's getting worse. I don't like to live in fear, and I don't like to be threatened, and I don't like to be harassed.
Martin says harassment and fear comes from people he believes are involved in criminal activity, everything from drugs to prostitution. His house has even been broken into.
To tell me to turn my camera off and you're going to get it for filming me.
Now he started taping the activity to show city leaders.
The city itself is trying to get a hold of Over the Rhine, but there are other pockets in other neighborhoods where the problem is being flushed out in other areas or growing just as worse. So,
to discuss these issues, I am joined this morning by Lieutenant Larry J. Powell, the Community-Oriented Policing Commander. Lieutenant Powell, welcome to Newsmakers.
Welcome.
What could the police do for Mr. Martin or people who are in similar situations? What would you say to him if you had an opportunity?
The first thing I would say to him is to contact his police district. The piece says that he lives in Kennedy Heights. That means that he's in District 2. He could contact his district commander or his neighborhood officer. We have neighborhood officers assigned to every neighborhood in the city.
And you would find that out through your own district office?
Absolutely. He could contact his district directly by phone, and if he has a computer, we have all that information on our website.
And what would they be able to do for him, though?
They would come out, respond if he, in fact, had a criminal case, he wants to make an offense, we would make the necessary paperwork for that. But even if he didn't have an offense, we would take action to either step up patrol or to address his situation as the situation calls for.
Well, I'm sure you know that a lot of people in city neighborhoods feel like, you know, they make those complaints, they point that out to the police, there's kids hanging around on the corner, they suspect certain things are going on. He says he suspects drugs and prostitution and I guess other things. But, you know, even if patrols are stepped up, there's that harassing going on. Is there anything else? Like you, for example, are the commander for community policing. How does the concept of community policing function in this situation?
Well, here, typically what would happen, we'd see if there were any existing community-based programs in place there. One of the biggest programs that we have now is our Citizens on Patrol program. And I am aware that there's a Citizens on Patrol program in Kennedy Heights. What this does, it gives the citizens the opportunity to walk their neighborhoods, and we feel like it does two things. It not only sends that message to that criminal element or that element that would cause the problem, that, hey, we care enough about our neighborhood that we're going to walk, and if need be, we will point out any criminal activity to the police. We give them a police radio. We always ask them to be our eyes and ears, not our hands. This isn't a snitching type situation as it's been characterized sometimes, but this is a grassroots effort to get community people that live in the neighborhood to take back their neighborhood, to assist us.
So that means that citizens are actually out walking the street in pairs. Is that my impression?
Absolutely.
They don't walk by themselves.
No. We want them out at least a minimum of 3 people at one time.
And do you give them some training?
There's 20 hours of training before they actively patrol. That's done at our police academy. We teach them on observation skills. We train them on how to use the radio. We train them on what to do and not to be confrontational.
One of the things Mr. Martin is doing himself already is setting up his own camera and trying to record things so that he can show evidence of activity to the police or to city council people or whatever. we've heard about cameras in neighborhoods at certain critical corners. Is that part of the community policing concept too? Is that another tool, and how effective is it?
Absolutely. It's definitely one of the tools that we use. Surveillance, it gives, hopefully it's designed to deter any criminal activity. A lot of times, I'll be realistic and honest with you, it just moves that activity to another corner in that, but that's fine. If we keep moving it, and they get the message that we're going to be out here. I think it does have an effect, a positive effect. One of the things, going back to Citizens on Patrol, we are now going to be arming them with video cameras in there. So he's to be commended for trying to take some actions to document the activity. And I would suggest that he, again, contact, I know the piece said that he was going to contact some city leaders, but contact his police department.
Now, you say that Citizens on Patrol will be equipped with video cameras. If they record illegal activity, can that be admissible in court? Can something recorded by a citizen be used as evidence?
Yes.
Okay, so this actually could be used to do something.
Absolutely.
Now, you know, we've heard for a number of years about community policing and heard it talked about in a bunch of different ways. Under the collaborative agreement, there's sort of a slight twist on that term. Community problem-oriented policing. CPOP is the short form that is getting used all the time now. Is there a difference between community policing activities and CPOP?
Community policing and CPOP are very similar. They're both based on this problem-solving model called the SARA model. And that's, again, is an acronym for scanning, analysis, response, and assessment. A problem is defined by definite rules what a problem is, 2 or more incidents. What the collaborative did, they looked at our community policing efforts, and they've decided collectively that we like community policing. How can this be expanded? And that's when they came up with community problem-oriented policing. Community problem-oriented policing, or CPOP, is germane to Cincinnati right now. It just takes community policing a step farther. The basic tenets is that we will work closer with the community to solve their problems. We will create CPOP teams, if you will, based around problems. And these specific problems, and the teams will be fluid. If the problem is resolved, then that team will then be disbanded. If another problem comes up, then they're created.
So this is where citizens, so maybe somebody like Mr. Martin, and I don't want to blow that one example up, but somebody like him and his neighbors could come to the police collectively and say, we're having this set of problems in our area, our geographic neighborhood, or our couple of streets, or whatever, and then a team would be formed of police officers, citizens, social workers probably, to all focus on that problem for a period of time?
Absolutely.
Okay, Absolutely. So this is a fluid situation.
Absolutely. It would go through that SARA model as I described before. Absolutely.
You know, one of the things that is also raised there, and I think it is an impression that a lot of us have, is that the police are focusing a lot of energy, resources on over the Rhine right now, and with the impression that maybe you don't have the resources to focus on the problems out in the other residential neighborhoods. Is that a fair assessment?
I will be honest with you, I don't think it is. We've got 5 districts in the city, and Over the Rhine is only just one of the districts. Over the Rhine probably gets, and rightly so at times, gets a lot of the publicity, both good and bad. But each district commander is committed to the neighborhoods that he commands, and welcomes the opportunity to work with that neighborhood. And they're dedicated. You've got officers that are dedicated to the neighborhoods that they work in.
You were saying to me before the show started that you've been a police officer for 30 years.
Yes.
Given the model of community policing that you now are responsible for in the department, is a recruit, a person becoming a young police officer today, is the training that that person goes through significantly different than what you went through because of community policing?
Significantly different, I don't know if I would say significantly different, but yes, it is different. The focus is now on more community-based officers, and we encourage that, we recruit for that, and we train for that. That we know that police work is reactive, basically. It's incident-driven. You have a problem, the police come, they take care of it, and they leave. But we also recognize that some problems, if you're really going to do change, if you want to find out why do we have to keep coming back to this location, then we're going to have to really do some problem solving. And we know that we can't do that by ourselves. We've got to engage the community. We've got to engage other partners, whether they're business, social service agencies, or other city departments, to really tackle and really do some true problem solving.
We don't have time to read all of them, but there's about 20 communities where Citizens on Patrol is already in operation. Is it the plan to spread that to other communities?
Absolutely, Dan. If I could just get just a moment to recognize the communities that we're in.
Okay, less than a minute, so do it fast.
We've got Avondale, we're in Bond Hill, Camp Washington, Carthage, College Hill, Coreyville, Cuff, Hartwell, Kennedy Heights, Madisonville, Mount Washington, Northside, Pendleton, Pleasant Ridge, Price Hill, Sailor Park, Walnut Hills, West End, and Westwood.
So in other words, we're just about out of time. If you heard your community mentioned, you can get involved right now. If you didn't, it could be coming to your neighborhood.
Absolutely. We hope to have it in all 52 neighborhoods before it's over with.
Thank you for being with us this morning. Thank you for your work, and let's continue to follow this and see how it develops over the next year, 2 years.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. After the break, in the midst of the parties trying to bail out the... stay tuned. After the break, we're going to have some good news about Cincinnati. Welcome back. Let's face it, Cincinnati could use some good news. One of the demands of the boycott leaders is for massive public and private investments in the 9 inner-city empowerment zone neighborhoods. Well, last month, Procter & Gamble made an announcement about a commitment that will stimulate a major investment in the zone. Procter & Gamble announced a $30 million commitment over the next 3 years to minority-owned ValuePack, a subsidiary of Dayton-based CDO Technologies Incorporated. ValuePack will build a new plant in the empowerment zone to manufacture liquid and dry fill bottles. When fully operational, the plant could create 150 to 200 jobs for people living in the empowerment zone. To discuss this deal and what it means for the city, I am joined by Keith Harrison, the Global Product Supply Officer for Procter & Gamble, Icy Williams, who is the Supplier Diversity Development Officer for Procter & Gamble, and Harvey Stroble, the Vice President of CDO Technologies, as I said, headquartered in Dayton, but Harvey lives here in Cincinnati. Yeah. Welcome to Newsmakers. Thanks, man. Just to clarify this, Harvey, dry and liquid contain, what are you guys making?
Well, the initial commitment, the project will actually start up manufacturing products associated with the body wash line that Procter produces. And so it will start off as a liquid fill operation. Understand that the manufacturing operation itself is actually a flexible manufacturing operation. Just so happens that this is the first opportunity, which is liquid fill. But it does have capacity, it will have capacity to produce liquid as well as dry fill material.
Okay. And when we say that ValuePack is minority owned, what does that mean in reality?
Well, that we're minority owned. The president of CDO Technologies is Al Warford, and Al is African American, and the company is 100% owned by African Americans, and we control the day-to-day operations of the company. I'm one of the vice presidents, and we have 3 vice presidents because actually we have 3 divisions. ValuePack being actually one of the divisions. So that means we run the day-to-day operations.
So this is not, and I want to clarify because sometimes this question gets asked. This is not a big corporation with a minority-owned front to it.
Oh,
this
no.
is truly a...
No. CDO, we're a 200-person company. We're a high-tech type company. We do a lot of work for the Defense Department up in Dayton. We have a lot of folks at Wright-Patterson, for example. We do a lot of IT type stuff, but we also do engineering, and now we will be moving into the area of manufacturing.
Okay. Keith.
Could I just add
Sure.
a little bit to that, just so that folks can understand part of the process that P&G uses as it looks for minority-owned. And so we clearly go by the national definition for minority-owned firms. And so most of our supplier base is certified. I would say probably 99.9% of our supplier base. And so CDO is a current supplier and has been with P&G for quite some time. And so we know what their certification is, and clearly they are minority-owned, and in this case, an African-American minority-owned supplier.
Your job, I was trying to get all those job descriptions right.
Okay.
Your larger job is not just this deal.
Absolutely.
But your larger job is what?
My larger job is for the corporation to look for minority and women-owned spending for the company. And so we have a supplier base that we deal from, certifications through the National Minority Supplier Development Council of Suppliers, and then women-owned businesses who are through WeBank. And so those women and minorities who are certified through those two entities and other entities around the country, we use to provide supply diversity spending.
And has the percentage, the proportion of minority, women-owned firms that P&G is contracting with, has that been going up?
It certainly has. I mean, you know, this is the program that P&G has been in for at least 20 plus years.
So this is not brand new.
This is not brand new, and we do not see it as anything that will, you know, is going to come and go. This is a part of Procter's strategy.
Just to build on that for a second, to put a little dimension on IC's work, our spending this year is probably going to be just short of $1 billion a year in women and minority-owned companies. This is part of a multi-year program that should get us to about $1.5 billion by summer of '05. And so this is an ongoing program. It's one that's central to part of our company values and purposes. It's very consistent with everything the company stands for. It's one we're working very aggressively, and that's why this opportunity has presented itself. But it's not, this particular opportunity is not the end, and it's just consistent with where we're trying to go over time.
Let me give it a slightly different twist to this. One is the minority part of this, but the other part is the empowerment zone. How important was it for both sides, because you're going to build something new, you don't already have an existing plant someplace. How important was it, and in what way was it important that the empowerment zone exists?
Well, let me take a cut at this one. I think it's very important. IC's role, as she said, is to really work on developing minority and women-owned business opportunities for us to create as our supply base. But we were looking for something in addition that we could do here in the city of Cincinnati to really make a difference locally. And the empowerment, we could have sourced this business someplace else. There are other opportunities for us to do something here. But we were looking for an opportunity to lean forward locally and do something that could create something for the community. And so in that context, we really worked together, IC and her team with Harvey and his team, and one of our business units to really put together an opportunity that doesn't exist today. There is no manufacturing opportunity on the ground today. This is going to jumpstart an opportunity that doesn't exist now.
Concretely, from your company's perspective, and/or from P&G's, what advantages exist to being in the empowerment zone? What are there concrete advantages?
Yes, there are. Well, first of all, let me bracket that with just a comment. We did not invent this. You know, the whole thing around being in the empowerment zone. Actually, there are models, there are success models where majority companies working with minority-owned companies working in the empowerment zone, leveraging the incentives, some of the attractive tax options and things like that associated with the empowerment zone that have been done in other cities. What we did during our research was that we looked at empowerment zones in Detroit. We looked at empowerment zone in Los Angeles. We looked in empowerment zones in Baltimore and Cleveland. And so there were a number of success stories. So what we sought to do was to reapply that working model, tweak it, define it a little bit more, give it our own flavor. And we approached Proctor with it because, as we said before, we had been doing work with Proctor for several years now.
So your side was working on this, it wasn't just that Proctor came and said, we want to do something with you in the empowerment zone. You were thinking about empowerment zone opportunities already.
Right. We were looking at a way to, we were looking at an opportunity that would provide us with sustainable business, also provide us with a competitive advantage to providing our services. Because at the end of the day, this still has to be, it still has to be about business.
Right.
So we looked at opportunities to do that. We looked at ways to reduce our costs. And so the empowerment zone provided.
And did the local empowerment corporation, Harold Cleveland, that operation, were they an active player in this, or was this something you guys worked out and then went to them?
No, they were in it from the very beginning.
Okay.
We first approached the empowerment zone probably 2.5 years ago, two and a half years ago, and actually floated the idea and the strategy, and so they've been a partner in this from the beginning.
The empowerment zone has 9 neighborhoods, and we put a map up at the beginning. Where is this particular plant going to go?
Well, actually, the empowerment zone is 9 neighborhoods, but they also have what they call developable sites. Because when we did the initial study, we looked to try to locate in some of those communities. But being a manufacturing operation, we ran into things such as, the proper zoning and proper codes. So what we were able to do, though, was we were able to locate, at least the plan is now to locate in the TechSolve community, because that is an industrial park that has been identified by the empowerment zone.
Hill area.
Right, which is in the Bond Hill area, but that's been identified as an expandable site.
Okay.
So that worked for us.
And I don't know who can address this, but these 150 to 200 potential jobs, do the people who live in the empowerment zone neighborhoods have any sort of advantage in getting those jobs? Any first crack at it?
Well, I'll let Harvey speak on that, and then I'll add to it.
Yeah, well, actually, what we're looking for is we're looking for qualified folks to help us run the operation. Residents from the empowerment zone will be part of the process. We have a very strong commitment to utilizing empowerment zone resources, but in actuality, we have a lot of. If you think about a manufacturing facility, we got to hire everybody from accounting people to fork truck drivers.
It's still got to be good business.
Right. It still has to be good business.
I'm aware of time here. Does P&G have other things in process like this, and not just the contracting things, but commitments to the empowerment zone or this sort of thing?
What we have is, as we call it, a Cincinnati initiative plan or Cincinnati business plan. So you can think about it from that standpoint. And on that plan is really to look at how do we stay involved in the community where we work and live. Okay. And so we will continue to look for opportunities that make the right business sense. And
Dan, I'd like to just come back and comment on the question of the jobs at Value Pack, because the 150 to 200 jobs we're talking about today, I would hope would be just the start. The piece of business that we're placing here now is really about 1/3 of what I think the capacity of Harvey's plant will be. Our expectation is that we'll find enough business throughout the region to fill this plant up. And when we do, that plant will have the cost structure that will allow it to compete with anybody in the United States.
I'm just about out of time. When do you hope this plant is actually up and running?
Well, the target is to have it actually up and running within the second quarter of 2004.
So pretty quick.
Yes, we're on a fast-track plan.
Well, listen, I want to congratulate you personally for this commitment. This is good news, and I just felt like it wasn't getting the attention. So thank you for being here this morning.
You're quite
and
welcome.
thank you for your commitment to the city.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
you.
much.
And thank you for making Newsmakers a part of your Sunday morning. Join us again next week to meet the men and the women shaping our community for the future. Have a good week.